What's up, y'all? It's Antoine Winfield Jr., safety for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
What's up, y'all? This is Jahai Wolf from the New York Giants.
What's good, y'all? This is Sterling Shepard.
This is Justin Tuck. This boy Plexico Bird, Super Bowl 42 world champion.
Chris Godwin from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
What's up? This is Saquon Barkley. Dex Lawrence II.
Yo, this is Mike Evans with the Tampa Bay Bucks.
And we about to go live on Flag on the Play.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode of Flag on the Play, college football edition. And I'm back here with the guys, man. How y'all feeling, though?
We good, man. We good.
Season's going by too fast.
I know.
Yeah. I thought I was the only one saying that.
Yeah, that's a fact. But let's just get it
It's
started,
like every
bro.
year goes by faster.
Season is going by crazy fast. I'm not gonna lie.
NFL feels like it's going slower. College football is going really fast.
Like, this shit is going by like a breeze.
Yeah, it's only week 10 in the NFL.
Yeah, this shit is wild. But let's get started, though. I wish JJ was here for this, but fuck it. Clemson gets destroyed by Louisville. Belt to ass. I'm going to just start off with you, T. You can just go on your rant before I start, everybody. You can go ahead, dog. Floor is yours, bro.
Hey, man, what we've been saying in this podcast for weeks, months, maybe even a year at this point, man, they're never going to get back to the point of a perennial national title contender with Dabo at the head coach. Dabo's not a bad head coach. You really don't have much right to fire him because I don't think he's Clemson royalty. But the problem is, and what pisses me off the most, is missed opportunity. All love to Kelly Bryant, who's been on the show. All love to JJ, that's his team. The thing that pisses me off the most is missed potential, and I know what Clemson can be. We all know Clemson could be eye to eye with Nick Saban and Alabama year in and year out. And now they just don't want to adjust with the times. They just don't. And that's what's going to make them suffer as time progresses. The thing is, they're not a bad team. They're borderline a playoff team. But the thing is, when you're in the ACC, especially with the 12-team playoff, they're going to be around that contention and think things are just the same when they could be adjusting and bolstering this roster. They're not like Florida State and they desperately need the transfer portal to succeed. They have good recruiting, but they don't have that extra thing to make them a great team. They're a good team, not a great team. And that's what pisses me off is they are doing it on purpose. They are avoiding the transfer portal on purpose due to ego and wanting to do it the right way. I'm sorry. At some point, we got to blame you. Same thing with like Aaron Rodgers. He made his bed. Now he's got to sit in it. Same thing for Dabo. He made his bed, and this team is just good when they could be so much better. This game doesn't define their season, but, dude, they have to win the ACC in order to win because if they're in second place, 3 losses, the second-place ACC team, even with 3 losses, should not make the playoff because the SEC and Big Ten are just leaps and bounds better. I don't care if you get mad about it. At the end of the day, those conferences have a sizable gap compared to the ACC.
All right. Grant, I'm going to start with you, bro. Do you think Clemson's season's officially cooked?
Yep. I said, Tegan, I got to applaud you because I agree with every word you said. I watched this game, and if you look at the box score and you don't look at this, and you'll think, oh, it wasn't close. This was not close. Louisville dominated this game. This was in a place that a lot of people were used to be terrified to play in. Now it had the entire fan base clearing out at the end of the third quarter. My biggest thing, really, I'll give a shout out to Louisville. Like, this is a solid team. Like, they put up a fight against Miami. They put up a fight against Notre Dame. And just watching them dominate this Clemson team states the point of, like, how good this Louisville team actually is. They just have been on the wrong end of some good games. But the thing I'll say about Clemson is, and I'll kind of, Tegan, bounce off of what your point was. One of the biggest things that I feel like after watching this game is this game could be one of the biggest things that kills Clemson football in the sense of, you know, when you watch this team play, it looks like a completely different style of what we've been used to seeing. And Louisville completely exposed this Clemson team on offense. And on defense, unless you look at it from the side of how Clemson was able to pick it up in the fourth quarter, it was a complete domination. And Dabo, I agree, has been the biggest issue is his morals and his guy mindset of I don't want to use the portal because I don't think it's ethical. With all due respect, man, and I'm just going to say it now, if you're going to sit here and tell me that you think you can go back and run a national championship with this team and you don't have to use the portal, you're obviously smoking some of the biggest pot I've ever seen in my life, or you're obviously just dumb. Like, with all due respect, the ACC is already tough as it is, and I think Miami's going to win it. So you got to win out with the rest of your schedule, and you got to go to play at Virginia Tech, at Pitt, then you got the Citadel in South Carolina, and that's it. If you're in there with 2 losses, I don't see a world. They're going to have to fight to be that large bid. I don't see a world where they win. And the biggest frustration is I feel like Dabo thinks that if he continues to follow this path, that the team's going to find a way to slip in. That's not going to work. I think the biggest thing with Clemson football is they've refused to adapt with the times, and now they're seeing the repercussions. Because this should be your wake-up call. We saw at the start of the season the blowout against Georgia. Granted, nobody thought Clemson would stand a chance against Georgia. But should be your wake-up call. Either get Dabo out, get someone in who's going to actually utilize the portal, because Dabo's not going to change after this. He's still going to stick to that same mindset and keep the program flowing forward and not touch anything to do with the portal. Or you stick with this same coach and you just continue to fall on yourself. And I'm worried that Clemson is going to do that because they can't fire. They don't how to phrase this. They're not going to fire Dabo because, again, like Tegan said, he's basically Clemson royalty. But it's going to get to a point where you have to make that decision of what do we want to do to get ourselves back on the top level like we can be. And it's just frustrating to see from Clemson fans because it's just like, this was coming whether you liked it or not. And if a loss to Louisville is what it has to have to wake you up, then I guess so. Because, my God, I could not have been more shocked about that game.
Coming off of a bye week, by the way.
Yeah.
That too.
Go ahead, Donnie.
I mean, those two kind of went on a rant about everything that's wrong with them and whatnot. But at the end of the day, the one thing that this game kind of showed me was what I feel like most of us have been saying. Clemson's wide receivers just don't create much separation, man. They don't. Louisville's secondary, I like their defense. I do. Dude, Louisville's secondary is not very good. It's still one of the bottom tier ones in it. It's just their D-line's been so good. And I thought Clemson's O-line did fine. It's just those wide receivers couldn't separate, man. Like, I didn't think Cade was that bad. Honestly, if you want me to keep it real, this game kind of reminded me of another game we'll get to probably relatively quickly, just due to the fact that the wide receivers just struggled so much. So, I don't know, man. It's tough for Clemson. Are they cooked? SMU's last 3 games are, I believe, Virginia, Boston College, and Cal. Win. You're 11-1. Your 1 loss is to BYU, undefeated, by the way. You're going to get put in over Clemson. Simple as that.
Champ.
One thing we need to be talking about is the biggest comeback story in college football history, and SMU. Remember, they was on death penalty at one point.
Mm-hmm.
They could possibly sneak into the college football playoffs and that's a huge if they beat the University of Miami. I don't think they will, but if that happens, that's the greatest comeback story in the history of college football. It comes from the death penalty, they end up in the college football playoffs because let's just face it, for SMU, in the great words of Doc Holliday, this time it's legal. If you know, you know. But Dabo, you got to change, man. You got to change. If you don't evolve, you die. If you don't evolve, you die. And the biggest form of insanity, the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. It's not going to get any better. You keep doing this. I mean, I think it was at number 11, before this game. And now it's just, you dropped. And let's just face it, I don't think you're going to catch SMU. I sure as heck don't think you can catch Miami at this point. It's pretty much over for you at the college football playoff. Hopefully you can make it to a bowl game, major bowl game. But this right here, according to the Clemson standard, is not acceptable. It's really not. But, hey, that's how come you see a lot of coaches getting out because of this NIL, because of the transfer portal. Just keep it all the way 100. So, I mean, hey, you got to adjust. Hell, look what Deion Sanders did with the transfer portal. I mean, that's a prime example of what you can do with the transfer portal. So, hey, if he can do that for Colorado, Imagine what they could do for a coach with the cachet and the resume of a Dabo Swinney. Use your cachet. My thing is unethical, immoral, whatever you want to call it. It's legal. It's not anything wrong. It's not anything that just it's not like you're just insulting someone's mama. It's legal. Go ahead and put your cachet to work so you can recruit those players out of the transfer portal. That's the only way you're gonna win. And because if you don't, it's only a matter of time. I don't care. We've seen coaches who are royalty get fired. We've seen coaches who've won national championships get fired. You don't believe that? Ask Gene Chizik. He got fired 2 years after he won the national championship at Auburn. He got fired. You've seen coaches get fired after they won national championship. So, hey, don't get it twisted. Your job is always on the line in college football, especially today. You got NIL, you got players getting stripped from you left and right. So you got to change with the times, man. You know, you can't just hold players anymore. You got to change with the times, Dabo. I'm hoping that you do. But if you don't, you might be Clemson might be changing your address before it's all said and done.
Do-rag.
Okay, yeah. Their season is basically over. There's a small slight chance that you just hope SMU drops a game. You manage to beat out Pitt in a impressive fashion, and you might be able to, if you knock off Miami in the
you gotta hope that and even then, like,
you don't control your own destiny. You gotta hope on a SMU loss, and their schedule is looking pretty light to end off the year. So your college football playoff hopes, that's probably done for. As for Dabo, like everybody said, natural selection. Get with it or get out. It's simple as that. Champ said it. You got to evolve. You don't evolve, you will die out. And I feel like we've been saying this for a while, and now it's like the portal's right there. And with NIL, it's even more necessary. You're not going to win games. You're not going to win national championships. You're not going to make the playoff. We're still going to make a 12-team playoff now. Like, what are we doing? Like, you got to wake up, man. Dabo has to wake up.
All right, do-rag, back on you. A&M pulls a classic A&M choke job. It's fucking ridiculous. They get blown out by South Carolina. Is it time to worry about A&M now?
Worry? I don't know if I want to go there yet. I feel like South Carolina, they've been on an upset. Like, they're upsetting teams. They've been that close to upsetting multiple teams this year. So they were a respectable team, and I felt like it was just a matter of time for they caught a team lacking. I'm gonna still get A&M. I'm gonna wait and see. I'm gonna put it as a wait and see. I'm not gonna worry just yet. They still got a shot, in my opinion. A slim shot as it may be, but I think they still got a shot, and I think they still make the college football playoff. So I ain't gonna worry just too yet.
Champ.
I got to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know about the next person, but I wasn't really expecting too much from them this year.
Yeah,
in the future, I expected something from them, but they was just coming off that disaster with Jimbo Fisher. Now, Coach Elko deserves a lot of credit because I didn't think this team was going to end up where it is right now, you know, considering some of the disastrous season that we just saw. But even if they don't make the college football playoffs at this point, it's progress. It's a hell of a long way from where you've been. So, I mean, you had a few big upsets this year, and you're on the right track. Now, is your college football playoff hopes cooked? May not be if Carson Beck don't stop overthrowing people like he Castro'd. I mean, that's a whole nother ball game. Because the way he's throwing, like I said, he can overthrow Castro with the way he's throwing, and he's a turnover machine right now. So, hey, you better hope for them turnovers to keep going because, hey, a lot of these big games, Georgia has been winning despite Carson Beck. Let's just keep it all the way real. I'm a hardcore Georgia Bulldogs fan, but they're not cooked as of yet as far as the season. But I'm going to just say nobody really expected them to really go to a college football playoff game. This is first year. And like I said, all progress for you to be where you are now from where you were last year with Coach Fisher. That's progress within itself. That's something to cheer about, especially all this money that Texas A&M that we know they're shipping out in NIL and things of that nature, giving guys new trucks and everything. So that's progress. So even if they don't make college football playoff and end up in a major bowl game, that's still progress and a hell of a long way from where you were last year. So big up to Coach Mike Elko. He's still in the running, especially if he wins out to be a Coach of the Year candidate.
Donnie?
Here's the thing. Texas A&M still controls their own destiny. If they win out, they're getting in the title game. It's as simple as that. You look at the standings right now. There's 3 teams with only 1 loss. If you think about it, Georgia plays Tennessee. One of those teams is going to have a loss. Texas A&M plays Texas. If they can beat them, they will still only have 1 loss, and there'll be 3 teams with 1 loss, assuming, let's say, everyone wins out. It would be like either the winner of the Georgia, Tennessee. We'll say Georgia because I think Georgia's going to win. It'll be Georgia, it'll be Texas A&M, and it'll be LSU. And they're going to give it to A&M because of the fact that they have the win over LSU. So they're still in control of their destiny. It's not like we'll get to this team later, but a Kansas State situation where you lost and you're screwed. No. As long as you win out, which isn't a given because you have to play Texas, but if you win out, you're in the title game. It's literally that simple.
Grant?
No, I mean, I don't think it's over. I agree with what everyone is saying. If you win out, you still control your own destiny. And I think that's kind of really the whole thing with the SEC right now. A lot of the teams in the top range of the standings control how the season's going to pan out. And I'll give this to South Carolina. The way they played that game, I saw this stat yesterday. Marcel Reed got pressured in that game on 20 or 36 of his dropbacks. And Lenora Sellers had about an average of 18.8 yards per completion in that game. And that, for me, shows a lot because if we look at this South Carolina team, they have had, if you look outside of the Ole Miss loss where they played horrible in that game and the penalties killed them, they've had close games. They had a close game against Alabama. They had a close game against LSU. And this game really just – then they blew out Oklahoma. Granted, Oklahoma's not that good. But this team is really good. And I give it to Shea Beamer because if there's a lot of fan bases who didn't really turn on their coaches, it's a lot of South Carolina fans. Because Beamer had convinced this fan base, stick with this process. And granted, they're not on the greatest runs of a season right now, but we're sitting with 3 losses, and their next 3 games are Missouri, Wofford, and at Clemson, who, again, like we just talked before, I could see a world possibly where they win out. Oh, and they also have to play at Vanderbilt, too, before I forget. So I'll give it to them. But for A&M, this was a trap game if you ever heard of one. I was worried about this game because I feel like, South Carolina's coming off of a bye week. They're going to what if this team is like 100% prepared at night? And that's a very, very dangerous place to play. And I just think in the moment, A&M in the first half played great, but the second half, it just felt like a completely different game. This was their drive chart from the second half, and I'm just going to read it. Punt, turnover on downs, punt, interception, punt, fumble, then the end of the game. That was their second half. So if they want to be able to keep them in this fight offensively, which I still think this offense is good, with Le'Veon Moss out for the year, that is a very strong concern for me because I feel like he was one of the key pieces on that offense. But I think if A&M wants to have a shot at winning out, they're going to have to fight for every win they get because I don't think there's a world where if you win out and you got to play Texas at Kyle Field and the winner of that plays Georgia, granted, if Georgia wins out, will determine a lot, but they're going to have to fight every game they get because this was a game that they should have won, but it was a trap game. South Carolina was the better team, and they went out with the win. I'll give kudos to them, but I still think Texas A&M controls their own destiny. It's just where you go from here and how many games you can bounce back. And I'll say this too. A&M, I said this last week, Mike Elko, with what he had to do with this team, he should be in contention of the coach of the year. I agree with Champ. With everything A&M has had to go through and the way this season started for them at the beginning, the way they were able to go on that undefeated run and drop this after this one loss, it's pretty solid. So I think Elko's going to have to be in that conversation too. But, man, A&M, like I said, control your own destiny, win out, you're in. You got yourself a shot at the playoffs. But you got to fight for every win you can get, and it looks like it's going to be hard going ahead.
To you?
Yeah, I think y'all all said it. I mean, you see what's behind me with the A&M pennant. I mean, I saw this everything was pointing towards a South Carolina win. I was surprised we were even favored in this game. I'm more surprised that South Carolina isn't ranked in the college football playoff and Missouri is. I think that's egregious.
Yeah.
I don't know what they see in Missouri to give them the benefit of the doubt when, if we're being honest, I mean, South Carolina is a couple plays away from being at the top of the SEC. You could argue against LSU, they were one egregiously bad ref call from shutting them down and being able to pull off a win. And in terms for A&M, I mean, I was very honest in knowing that their quarterback change has caught a couple teams off guard and it's covered up some of the flaws. Now, to be fair, that was the worst tackling performance I've seen from Texas A&M against Lenore Sellers and Raheem Sanders or Rocket Sanders. You really can't afford to do that. And to Champ's point, I mean, as an A&M fan, I 1-9-3 this year. I thought 10-2 was like you'd be like egregiously happy with that, but like 9-3 is what I predicted, pulling off a win against Notre Dame, LSU, Missouri, or Texas. I wanted one of those four, and we got two. And then you would end up dropping one that you were supposed to win. And then it all rides on Texas. I'm a lot lower on A&M to make the college football playoff just because Le'Veon Moss was the engine, and now we're down 2 running backs, putting a defensive back at running back at this point. He's not starting, but he's going to be our backup, Dalton Brooks. And so it's a tough position to be in, but it's hard to be upset at a season so far up to this point. I think the one painful thing will most likely be knowing that Texas, a team that should beat us, is going to be the reason that holds us out of the college football playoff. That's the one thing I can hold my hat knowing that's going to be painful, but we could definitely still beat them just knowing it's at home and it's a rivalry spot. So it's not completely shut out, but it definitely doesn't make that win any easier.
All right, bet. Cool. Tegan, back on you. Ohio State beats Penn State at their crib. A lot of bullshit happened in that game. So
Understatement.
So I'm gonna start with you, Tegan. What is the main reason why Penn State lost that game?
Their offensive, I mean, they just can't I'm sorry. Drew Howard cannot figure out their defense. He just can't. He just if you go back, I don't think they've scored a drive in the past 9 quarters, a touchdown, an offensive touchdown in the last 9 quarters against Ohio State. Ohio State's got their number. I get it. There's some questionable, to say the least, referee calls, I'm sure. But you're also at home. You're the higher ranked team. You had all the things that you were supposed to fix. At the end of the day, Penn State just has not gotten the wide receiver room correct. They just haven't. They lost more talent than they gained. And I don't care about all these gimmick, cute, creative plays that you pick once a game in a Madden game or a college football 25 game. It doesn't matter if you're not able to move the ball down the field. Show of hands. Did anyone, if Penn State was able to get a stop at that last drive, did anyone have any faith that Penn State would be able to score?
Fuck no.
Anybody?
Heck no.
Hell no.
Absolutely.
So you knew that game was over by that last drive. Because at the end of the day, like Drew Howard, at what point against high-level competition have you seen him turn it on that he can show those flashes against high-level competition when you need him to? He's a fancy what's the name of their super famous, or not famous, highly recruited quarterback? It wasn't McSorley. Yeah, he's a glorified Christian Hackenberg.
That's crazy.
Donnie, you don't got nothing to say about that?
Tegan, I'm not going to fully disagree that Allo didn't look he didn't look that sharp, at least compared to the other games. Dude, those wide receivers cannot create separation on the outside. If you watch the tape, what they were doing was doing their absolute best to just put everybody in the middle of the field so they can just shut down Tyler Warren, because that's the only thing they had to worry about. And then they looked at Penn State, Ohio State looked at Andy in the eyes and said, have your wide receivers beat us in the outside. I dare you. Just do it. We'll take the risk. And guess what? They didn't do it once. Not a whole game did they manage to create separation as an outside receiver down the field, which is what Ohio State was telling them to do. They weren't worried about those wide receivers. They were worried about let's stop Tyler Warren, and that's it. And that's what they did. So huge kudos to Ohio State. They kicked ass, man. This game is not – last year, I'll give you Drew. That was Drew's fault last year. This last game, Drew Aller is not the main reason why they couldn't score.
And I don't blame fully Aller. If anything, I blame whoever made the decision to not invest into that wide receiver room.
Yes, okay.
Because you knew that was an issue last year.
Yeah, but also there were times last year where he legitimately, like, the decision making was bad.
No. But I mean, you knew his decision making was bad, but you had Lambert last year who you let go into the portal. You knew this was going to be a need. It's the same thing with freaking Auburn. Auburn knows they have no quarterback, and Hugh Freeze said, "Nah, we're going to go with Peyton Thorne and friends, and see the 3-6." Like, I'm not going to have sympathy on that, but also our in general. I mean, like, I just don't like. It's the same Penn State story we've seen every single year.
Yeah,
they just had fancy trick plays.
I don't know. I don't fully disagree. I picked Ohio State to win. I did. It's just, man, just one guy, man. That's all I'm at. If they just had one guy on the outside, they would have been fine. But they don't. Just one. I'm not asking for Jeremiah Smith, Ted McMillan. I'm not asking for that. I'll take a Jaden Higgins or someone like that. Just a good top 15, top 20 wide receiver in the country. And this offense would be so much better. And it just breaks my heart because Aller has improved this year. Tyler Warren improved more than Aller. I mean, Tyler Warren was like a projected 5th-round pick, and I'm seeing mock drafts where he goes first round, and I think that's probably going to happen. Like, it's unfortunate, man. Like, as the big Penn State glazer, I guess if you want to say, I hate him. I hate him anyway. I'm a Hawkeye for life. But it's just it's annoying, man, and that's why they're going to make the playoff. They're going to make the playoff probably, but that's why, like, if I'm Drew, and I doubt he's going to do it because I do think Drew is going to go back to school, just because I would imagine he wants to go like first round and not day 2. But if I were him, I would try to go to a different school, man. I would. Like, I would just, dude, until they can prove to you that they can fix this wide receiver room, I don't trust it. And not to mention, Tyler Warren's also gone. So, I don't know, man.
Grant, what's your thoughts on the game?
Well, all right. I got invested into this game because I really wanted Penn State to win. Because I picked Penn State. I wanted to have my faith in Penn State. And this game, for me, is the epitome of Penn State football. I'm going to drop this stat for you guys real quick. In this game, the 2 highest rushers in this game were the quarterback and the tight end. Tyler Warren had 3 attempts for 47 yards. Drew Aller had 10 for 31 yards. Katron Allen had 12 for 27. And Nicholas Singleton had 6 for 15. That's his career low in a single game in college. And Ohio State, I said this at the beginning, if you control this game at the start and you get off to a hot start, you can win this game. The Zion Tracy pick 6 was exactly what they had. It was like, you have this momentum. Now, play it out on offense. The offense was in the red zone 4 times and they couldn't score. 4 times. And I'm watching this and I'm just like, what are y'all doing? Y'all get every opportunity. Y'all are in the red zone and you have to settle for a field goal. And that's all you got. And what frustrates me is this was the history of Penn State. Penn State is 1 for 13 under losses under Kirk Franklin, under top 5 opponents. They've averaged 17 points, and their opponents have averaged 32, and they have a TD margin of -13. It's the same story. And Kirk Franklin, look, I've respected you. I don't know how you're going to defend yourself from this one. Because I had a bunch of conversations with friends of mine who are up at Penn State, and they're not happy. A lot of people aren't happy. You had an opportunity in your hand. You haven't beaten Ohio State in 8 years. And the one best chance that you had to go out there and do it, when I said, again, this is a vulnerable Ohio State team, who you guys were keeping on the run in that first half, and you sold again. And it's the story with Penn State. We always say, oh, why can't Penn State be in the convo of a national champion? Why can't Penn State be a conversation to be one of the top teams in college football? Because they can't beat the big guys. Because when they play Ohio, they'll start off, they go 7-0, they play Ohio State and Michigan, and they lose, and then their whole season goes down the tube, and they're in a New Year's Six Bowl. It's the same thing. And I'm not trying to rub this in on Kirk Franklin, but I saw that.
Why you keep calling Kirk Franklin?
That's
Revolution.
James Franklin.
James
Oh my
Franklin,
God.
I'm very tired. I apologize. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. It's the same scenario that I feel like we've been having with this team. And I feel like you're not going to be able to defend yourself much longer from that group of fan base, because I feel like you guys have to win out. And I think your schedule's winnable. But I'll give credit to Ryan Day, like beating a top 3 team on the road at Happy Valley. It's tough regardless. And it's a big win for Ohio State because now but granted, they still got to play Indiana, who have been on a complete tear this season, who I still think are a Big Ten threat. So, but man, for Penn State, you had this win. All you had to do was go out there and do it. And offensively, your team couldn't get anything. And it kills me because you had so many chances to win this game. And this is going to be one of those games again. It's another regret. In the past 7 games against Ohio State, Penn State has lost by at least 7 points. They're always this close, but they can't get over the finish line. So it sucks, but I don't know what's going to happen with James Franklin after this. He's going to have to win out and make the playoff. And I don't know how much long. It's just frustrating because I don't usually get invested into Penn State games like this, but man, I picked Penn State. And I think they got it, but offensively, this team couldn't do anything. And that's what slaughtered them in this game, because what they couldn't do offensively, Ohio State made up for it. And that's how they were able to win this game. So,
Champ.
Hey, man, all of y'all basically hit it on the head, man. Good defense, no offense. I mean, and when your offense cannot generate any points the way they're supposed to in order to keep up with them, I mean, it's going to end in a disaster. Granted, this is not the most remarkablest, I know that's not a damn word, but still, the most remarkablest offense that we've seen out of Ohio State. You know, we've seen better, but, you know, they definitely could have kept up with them. So, I mean, hey, Kirk Franklin definitely got a sorry, Grant.
No, you good,
Kirk Franklin definitely got to do some things when it comes to addressing that offensive side of the ball, because, you know, I don't know what to say. Like I said, it's like you're always there, but you're not even the bridesmaid. You're the person sitting in the audience wishing they could be in the wedding. I mean, at this point, you couldn't beat Michigan when they was on top. Can't beat Ohio State now. And now with, you know, Indiana just rising in that conference, and Ohio State in that conference, and Oregon, it's going to be a hell of a lot. It's going to be hella hard for you to sneak your way into the college football playoffs, man. It's going to be hella hard. So, I mean, granted, it ain't over, but it's going to be kind of hard to sneak past all of those teams, especially they keep winning. So, hey, I hope Kirk Franklin can do something.
To be fair, if you saw the clip after the end of the game when that Penn State fan was heckling him and he was like, if you're a man, why don't you come down here and tell me that? It was like, what's your name? And he was testifying like Kirk Franklin to his face. So, granted, that's probably fair, but.
Durag?
Yeah, like I said, like this is Penn State's first real test of the year. And I said it last week, they had to come at this like a playoff
Respect
game.
Illinois.
Like I said, Penn State's first real test of the year. They had to come at it like a playoff game. They showed us it's the same old, same old. Like Champ said, just right there. You're never gonna get over the hump. Come playoff time, I can't take this team seriously. The weapons are bad. Like the weapons aren't good. The defense held up for you. Your run game can't even produce for you, and that's supposed to be your calling card on offense. Nick Singleton just got boxed up. Like Penn State, it's bad. It's just. You just hate to see it because I thought with the way Drew Aller, he looked way better this year compared to last year. I thought maybe he finally caught the fire, maybe caught the flame, and then they can actually do a little bit of something. Nah, same old, same old.
All right, bet. Do-Rag, back on you. Feel me? My Cougs. Go Cougs. You feel me? Go Cougs.
I forgot about that.
We beat K-State at
Thank
the
you.
crib. Huge upset. This is also huge for Colorado because I think now Colorado's what? They're top 3 in the Big 12 now?
Mm-hmm.
Top 3 in the Big 12.
Top
So I'm going to
three,
start with you, Do-Rag. Can K-State still make the playoffs?
Ooh, K-State. That's a good question. They get 2 losses.
Let's keep it a buck. They can only make it. They can only make it by conference championship.
Yeah, they can only make it by conference championship.
Okay, so
There's not going to be a 2-lot.
So they can still
Let's rephrase it then. Let's rephrase it. Can they still make the Big 12 championship?
Yes, they can definitely still make the Big 12 championship, but it's gonna. They're gonna have to beat Iowa State.
Keep in mind they got Arizona State at home, Cincinnati at home, and then they got Iowa State away, and that's their That's it.
They got to. They got to win out.
Yeah, we need K-State.
One of Iowa State or Kansas State will probably take one of those spots, and then they got to hope BYU.
They've got to win out. They got to win.
They got to win it. They have to win out, and then they have to hope for a Colorado loss.
Do they? Don't they have the same amount of losses?
And an Iowa State loss.
Do they though, Donnie? They have 2 losses, just like Colorado do. They have the head-to-head matchup, so they do end up. They end up with the same record. You assume they'll favor the head-to-head, right?
I wonder what the tiebreaker.
Wait, hold on. Are you talking about for Colorado versus Kansas State?
Even both teams win out, they'll still end up. No.
It'll go to Colorado because Colorado only has 1 conference loss, and it's to.
So does Iowa State does too because they just got upset.
2 losses are to. They got smoked by BYU, and then they just lost to Houston.
Okay, so that's okay. I know. Okay. That's how the tiebreaker works. And they still got a shot, but it's out of their hands now. They still got to win out, but they got to bet on the Colorado loss, and that loss right there to Houston. I mean, that boosted Colorado's chances up tenfold. They got a real shot now. Like, is that like we said it for them to make the playoff? They need something out of the ordinary to happen. It happened. So,
come on, champ.
Hey, I will second what Do-Rag said, and I'll let you move on, man, because I ain't got that much to add after that.
Donnie?
I mean, it's out of all the likely teams to make it, and by likely, I'm going to basically just say BYU, Iowa State, Colorado, Kansas State. Maybe Texas Tech can sneak in there, but I highly doubt it. Like, even with a big win over Iowa State. But I'd say they have the lowest percent of all of them because BYU's hands, or their destinies in their control, and Iowa State's is also in their control. Colorado's is basically just win out and then hope Kansas State beats Iowa State. So that'd be the next one. And then with Kansas State, it would be you have to win out, beat Iowa State, and you have to hope Colorado loses a game. And their schedule for the rest of the year, hold on, let me take another look at it because I'm pretty sure
Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas.
Out of all these games, Texas Tech is definitely going to be the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be this week. We'll talk about that pretty quick. But yeah, Kansas State has the lowest chance out of all those 4 teams for sure.
Brent?
Man, the Big 12 is such chaos. Is going to be such chaos this year. It is giving me a headache trying to even sort it out. But congrats to Houston, man. They may not have put up a great game. It was ugly, but they managed to put Kansas State through hell in that second half, and that's what eventually cost them. I think Kansas State, for me, I'm just going to keep it a buck. I don't see a world where they make it. I think it's going to come down to if BYU loses, and keep in mind, Iowa State just got upset too, and so Iowa State and Colorado are tied on 4-1, so they're going to have to at least lose one. And I just don't see a world where that happens because, look, I love Caleb Johnson. Avery Johnson. I love Avery Johnson. I think he's a great quarterback, but just like, bro, there are some throws in that game I'm watching, and I'm just like, that's not what I'm normally seeing from this Kansas State team who have been so great in the past. But look, like I said, this is college football. Anything can happen. They may have a shot. It's just you're going to need all the help you could get. But I don't think it's going to happen because I feel like the Big 12 either is going to go to either BYU or Iowa State. Colorado, I think, is going to have the best chance. But a loss like that, man, I don't see a world where it happens. You're going to have to take a miracle, and I don't see it.
Tegan?
Keep it pushing. I got nothing to add.
Now he got nothing. But
I'm waiting and seeing with. I'm waiting.
Shout out
I'm,
Houston, getting the dub.
He got
Shout out
nothing.
Houston. You know,
he got nothing. But
hey,
all right.
I'm waiting to see with the Big 12, man.
Okay, you waiting and seeing, right? So next game. So talk to me what happened with Iowa State then, Tegan.
Oh,
Texas.
bro, you saw I had Texas Tech plus 13.5, bro. I saw if you're able to run the ball, you can have a chance against Iowa State. You saw what happened with UCF.
Look. So just to ask the question, so we keep it going. Do you still think just Iowa's still a top 2 team in the Big 12? Iowa State?
Yeah. They've earned that.
yeah.
Anybody
They've
else
earned
think-
that.
Yeah, no.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I think BYU is pretty clearly number 1. I think I just think the order is simple. I just think the top 2 are the top 2, and then debate a wall between Colorado and K-State. It really doesn't matter. I know K-State beat them, but I'd still say it's close. So, yeah.
I bet cool then. So then I'll just stay back on you, Tegan. And SMU beat the shot of Pitt. You know, went crazy. I think SMU had like 450 total yards off. It was going crazy. So look at it now with the rest of their schedule. Is SMU a lock to make the playoffs?
I'm pulling it up.
They have 1 loss to BYU, and
yeah, I see. Here's the thing. I got living in Dallas. I got a lot of friends that play for SMU, so I am not going to say they're a lock to win the rest of their games because if they lose, they will be knocking at my door. But man, I like to Champ's point, man. It really doesn't go. People hear the penalty that they got and really don't understand the level that it took this program down to 0, and the fact that they climbed all the way back to a point where that they're in a Power 4 conference. If there's one team that I think's really benefited from conference realignment, it might be SMU. I want them to win out. They were my sleeper team in the ACC, right there with Virginia Tech, who's actually bounced back. I thought Preston Stone was going to be the guy, but Jennings might be the most.
Jennings.
He might be the most underrated quarterback in the country that everyone's starting to find out who he is.
Yeah, just like last year with Preston Stone. Now it's flipped.
Yeah, I don't want Clemson in the ACC title game for playing the Texas School of the Blind. So I'm very excited for SMU, man.
Yeah.
Grant?
No, I mean, yeah, that's fair. Like, again, I know we keep going through the death penalty that SMU got. There's a great documentary on ESPN if you want to watch it. If you like, people don't understand when we mean death penalty, we mean death penalty. Like, they got the whole thing shut completely down, like no football. And the way they've been able to continue to just build, because most programs, when you have that happen, they don't have a resurgence for a long time. And the fact that they bounced back to be at the position where they are now is one of the craziest stories I've seen that a lot of people aren't talking about. But look, as for SMU, I think they are going to make it because they're gonna have to win the conference title too. And I think they're going to play Miami for that title. I just think this is going to be a very interesting way to see how the ACC turns out, because I'm going to keep it 100% with y'all. I did not see a world where Pitt was going to get beat this bad at all. Like, if you told me they were going to get beat by like 24, it was like 31-3 at the half, I told you you're crazy. But this team, like, they got dominated everywhere on the field. And what's crazy even more is they had the ball longer and they were able to have more first downs in this game, and they still couldn't do anything on offense. But SMU used every single opportunity they had with the football, and they ran it. They threw it down their throats, and they wobbled they wobbled Pitt, and that's how they're able to win this game. Simple. So do I think they make it? Yes, but the ACC, you got to win that title, because I think it's going to have to come down to that, because I feel like the way it's going to shape up, they're going to put a little bit of SEC bias in there, maybe a bit of Big Ten bias, and you're gonna have to squeeze your way in there. So, if you're asking me now if they have a legit shot, yeah, I'd say yes.
Donnie?
Yeah, not really much to add on. I think they definitely have a shot. Even if they win out and let's say they lose to Miami, yeah, they're 11-2, but at least they have good losses. You lost to a BYU team that's currently undefeated and is the betting favorite to win the Big 12 by 3 points. And then whatever happens in Miami, like if they get blown up by Miami, that's a different story. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. I actually think they're going to be able to compete and maybe even have a chance to win. But no, as long as they don't get blown up by Miami, assuming they win out, they should get in.
Champ?
I'm here for it with SMU, man. I'm here for it, man. I mean, I think they've had a few good seasons because they had a few good seasons, this past couple of years, but this is the first time they have the ability to be on the biggest stage since Craig James and Eric Dickerson. So, man, I'm here for it, man. I mean, based on the history, man, I mean, hey, I'm glad to see it, man. That's all I can say, man. I am excited to see it. I'm a football historian, so I'm hoping that SMU can win out and to see it. Arguably one of the biggest stories in college football, SMU versus the U. The U is back versus SMU, 2 teams that have not been prominent for a good while. That's amazing, man. That's must-see TV. So you got to be cheering for SMU, man. I'm loving it. I'm hoping that they win out. Especially because this will be the first 11-win season since Craig James and Eric Dickerson, and which they called it the Polyester Bowl, but because they couldn't go to a bowl game during that year. But yeah, man, that'll be special, man. The U versus SMU, that's a dream right there.
Do right.
Yeah, I'm similar to what Donnie said. Like, I don't think they have to win the championship game. If they play Miami close and they're still 11-2, I think they should still be in the playoffs. And they still I think they got a shot to beat Miami. I mean, that's 2 of the ACC's best offenses. So I think it's going to be a shootout game. So anytime it's a shootout, you got a shot. So yeah, I don't see a world where unless some BS, like some true November football BS happens, I don't see them dropping the game for the rest of the year until you see Miami in the ACC championship game.
All right, Durag, back on you. Miami, they put Belt's ass late on, but they
little late surge.
A little late.
They will
they beat Duke, Cam Ward 400 yards, 5 TDs. Was this Miami's best win of the season so far?
Comp wise, Duke is better than Cal, but coming back down 20 against Cal, I think that might probably be a better win for them. It's not saying much. They haven't seen much comp. They played Duke close. They did have a late surge. It's up there. If you said it was their best win, I wouldn't be mad at you, but I'm going to take consideration that 20-point comeback against Cal.
Bro, it's Florida.
Yeah, I was going to say it's Florida.
It's Florida.
It's Florida.
Florida's a good team with a bad record.
I forgot they played Florida. Yeah, that was the beginning.
They put B2A in the swamp week 1,
right,
and it wasn't close. Florida's a good team cosplaying with a bad record.
With a terrible schedule.
Champ.
All these comeback wins by the U, man. Yeah, we need to change their name to the Cardiac Canes because, man, I mean, shit on my line, it's just like every time you think you got them beat, it's like they come right back. Cam Ward, hot take. I'm just going to say it before it comes out of my hot take. Cam Ward is sort of how Cam Newton was to that Auburn team. You take Cam Ward off this team, it's pretty much wash.
Whoa.
But,
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
No, I'm not saying that.
He's not wrong. I mean, if Cam Ward isn't on this team, they're probably like
okay.
They're probably like 6.
The talent discrepancy, though.
Yeah.
Oh no, for sure.
That's what's getting me like, come on, Martinez, Restrepo.
Yeah,
like,
what Cam did was better, but like to that, like
Yeah, I'm
carry
talking
job,
about no.
like, I
It's
get
not
it.
on that, especially because that was in the SEC. But
Yes.
if you really put them side by side, if you really take Cam Ward off that team and say, okay, you go find you another quarterback, I don't think they win a game this year. I'm just gonna be real. So I mean, just gonna be real. They're not in the position where they are right now, I would say. So it's a Cam Newton type of performance when you think about Cam Ward, man. So hey, look, big ups to the U, because we've been hearing this for a long time. The U is back. Now you're officially back. Let's hope you can keep winning. And like I said, man, you love to see historic football teams in college football win, because when they win, college football is a hell of a lot better, man. The Oakland Raiders of college football is back, so I'm glad to see it.
Donnie?
I mean, I want to give a shout out to Miami secondary. They did a really good job. The D-line did a good job. Now that the D-line is healthy again, I do feel better about their defense. And that's the thing about Malik Murphy. And I like Malik a lot, by the way. I think he's a super talented guy. But if you get him under pressure, because he's not the most mobile guy, he just has a massive arm. But if you can keep him in the pocket and get pressure on him, he's going to make mistakes. And that's exactly what he did against Miami. He had 3 interceptions that game, and the D-line got pressure. So it's encouraging to see, but at the end of the day, what Cam Ward did was more impressive, considering going into that game, Duke had the second highest graded secondary in the conference, and he went in there and just ripped them apart. So shout out to them. Shout out to Restrepo as well. I draft him second round this second. I just think he's going to be a good slot receiver.
All-time reception leader. Shout out.
Yeah, all time. Yeah, shout out breaking the record as well. That's a very prestige program, and you did a good job there. So shout out to Miami. It's going to be fun seeing them play possibly SMU or Clemson in the ACC title game. But first, they got to win out. Schedule isn't too rough, so shout out to them.
Grant?
And to answer the question if this is their biggest win, I would completely agree with Teagan. It's Florida. It was we didn't know anything about this Miami team outside of whether what camera was going to be good. You go into the swamp, which I don't care, regardless of environment. It's one of the toughest environments in the SEC, and you destroyed them. And if Florida didn't get the schedule of death this year, and they had it's a completely different story. But for Miami, yeah, I don't want to make this comparison, but sometimes I look at Miami and I get the Florida State scenario where if Cam Ward gets hurt, this is a whole different team. Now, I don't say that confidently because I think Cam Ward has played incredible this year. I think he's a Heisman finalist. I think he's an unbelievable player. But I feel like if he gets hurt, this is a total different story. But this Miami team with their players, it's incredible. I'm not denying the level of talent they have, but I think the biggest issue is just like Cam Ward. If he's not on that clicking, this team is dysfunctional. Like we saw that in the Cal game when he managed to bounce back in the second half and he started actually playing. Granted, you can say what you want about the referees. They still managed to play a somewhat considerable game. But I think the Florida game is their biggest win, and I think Miami are going to win the ACC and make the playoff. And I think this team, top to bottom, they're dangerous. And also, really, I just think this is also just another thought. They need to make Miami an actual stadium. Not that like I'm complaining.
No bullshit. No bullshit.
The Hard Rock Stadium, if you watch that game, was barely sold out. And they've had games there where they sell it out. Granted, it's a noon game. It's like 100 degrees. I completely get it. But the commute between each is like 30 plus minutes. And you got to keep in mind in Miami, you got traffic, you got a bunch of other stuff, parking, etc. And I think, because granted, they used to play at the Orange Bowl, then they tore it down. And I think they need to find a way to be able to invest and build them a stadium so it's closer and they can pack it out and have a bigger environment. Because I don't like them having to share out an NFL stadium and not be able to sell out their home games like that. Because a 7-0 team, with the way they are, they should sell out every single game. And the fact that that stadium was barely full, granted, transportation issues and all the other stuff I could work through, but I just think they need a stadium closer to campus because I feel like that would skyrocket attendance. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. I think they definitely need to have a stadium. And I think that Them not having a stadium would be the dumbest fuck. I'm not gonna lie to you. But before we head out, we're gonna do these predictions before we head out. Week 10.
We're not gonna talk about Georgia, Florida.
It's like
I mean, we'll get to a Georgia game during this. So
yeah, we
that's
don't.
fair.
I have a few things I want to say about that game. So
Yeah, we don't. I think we'd be straight because I mean,
Okay, no, I was just asking.
to be honest, if DJ Lagway plays, Georgia loses. I'm not.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
They lose. If DJ Lagway plays, if he doesn't tear his hamstring, they lose.
He tore his
that's
hamstring.
the
That's what he
injury.
did?
He tore his hamstring.
Yeah, he like. I
They
think
said
tore
it's not as serious, so he might be able to play against Texas, but I don't think he's going to.
You might sit him out the regular. That's a
Yeah,
That's
hamstring.
what I was gonna say.
Just sit him for the year, man.
It's a hamstring. You can come on. You just say hey, your job is say Billy Napier. You keep it that way.
What you mean by run the table?
Do y'all think Colorado's going to run the table? I'd imagine he means like win the Big 12.
They have a
And,
shot.
I will say though,
they have a shot,
if they
but
win
I'm
out, if they win out and K State beats Iowa State, because I mean Colorado go in. I'm saying I'm going all in. Like I'm saying,
Yeah, you have to go all in. You have. I realistically, I don't know. I mean, I guess we can talk about that another time. But I just think
Where are they ranked in the playoff right now? What are they like?
Colorado's ranked 20th.
They're 20th.
I have it pulled up right here. Give me a minute. They're ranked 20th. Yeah, and then BYU is like what 8 or 9, which is way too low, by the way. That's way too
well. I just think it's up in the. I still think this is an extremely talented roster with depth, and I think this is your best shot with Travis and Shador on this team because next year they're leaving, they're going straight to the draft. So, I mean, they're gonna have to win the Big 12, but then pray for Kansas State to beat Iowa State, but it's not crazy. You can have that.
Not. Kansas State
it's
can
not
definitely
crazy. If you told me this a month ago, I'd say I wouldn't be sold on it, but now. That's not crazy at all.
Yep.
All right, bet though. So let's get to these games. Week 11. Let's get these games. Grant, we got. We just say the teams or whatever, so we can just keep pushing.
Okay.
Miami at Georgia Tech. Do you think they continue to win these games? Because it could be a trap game, but who you got though? Miami, Georgia Tech.
It could be, but I mean, we saw what happened with Duke. They were down, and everyone thought they were out, and they managed to pull it out. I just think this Miami team is too good, and Cam Ward's gonna lead them to the ACC. Give me Miami.
Donnie.
Georgia Tech secondary is so bad. Cam Ward might do what he did to Duke, except worse. So, and it's just the fact that maybe they can just kind of waste time. Maybe Georgia Tech can waste time and slowly beat down Miami. Sorry, but at the end of the day, I just don't see how Georgia Tech defense is going to consistently stop Miami. So I'm just going to take Miami to win and cover.
Durant?
Yeah, until they show me they're going to lose, I'm going to keep picking them. There's no business for Georgia Tech to be beating Miami, so I'm going to go Miami.
Yeah.
All right, back on you, Durag. Washington at Penn State. Can this be a possible upset?
At Penn State, no, Washington. They still they haven't got a win on the road right? Washington, no.
Washington, no, they haven't. No.
Yeah, give me Penn State. Like that type of stat, it just don't go away out of nowhere. So give me Penn State. They need a bounce back win anyway. Yeah.
Donnie?
Yeah, I just think an emotional loss, you recollect yourself. I think this is going to be a good, just like facing adversity. You finally lost. Are you going to be able to bounce back from it, or are you going to let it sink you into the ground? I think you get a good win like this and beat them by about 3 scores. I think you feel good about it. So give me Penn State.
Grant?
4 words. Happy Valley at night. They're not losing. Give me Penn State.
I bet. Grant, back on you. Colorado at Texas Tech. Texas came out with a huge win versus Iowa State. Do you think they can do it again?
The spread is Colorado by 3. I don't know because I want to say Colorado, but I have this. I was watching this game and looking at the stats, and I have this horrible feeling in the back of my stomach that this is going to be a trap game. I'm going to say Colorado, but I'm not confident in it. But I think they're going to get the job done. I just think Colorado is too dominant, and Texas Tech got lucky. And I don't think they're going to get that chance against this Colorado team because offensively, if you can't shut down Travis Hunter, well, you're not surviving.
All right, Donnie.
Listen, lightning struck whenever they beat Iowa State. They shouldn't have won that game, but a lot of the media analysts have been saying Iowa State gave them the win, which is true. But I do want to give respect to them for one thing, is that their secondary, which has been bad this year, it shut down the number 2 passing attack in the Big 12. Iowa State easily, without question, is the second best passing attack in the Big 12, and you got to give them credit for it. Now you're playing number 1. I don't think Lightning's going to strike twice. Give me Colorado to win.
Do right.
Yeah, same thing that Donnie said. Like, you got your little miracle win, got lucky, but Shadour's a better quarterback. Travis Hunter is better than Jaden Higgins. I think Travis Hunter gonna give him work. So,
yeah,
this is really where I think Travis Hunter, like, he might start stepping in his Heisman campaign. Nice little end of the year win out.
Travis goes for another $150. It's over.
He probably does.
I could see it.
I don't know if it's over with. If Cam Ward puts up those numbers consistently, man, the quarterback bias.
Shout out my dog Miles for the super chat. Geno Smith better than Lamar, right? Miles trolling.
Shout out Miles for the 20, man.
All right, bet. What's the next game? So, Durag, back on you. Michigan at Indiana. Can this be a real upset?
You will never see me pick a team with Davis Warren at quarterback to win the game. I'm sorry. Indiana, they're hot. They've been the hottest team in the Big Ten probably so far. They're gonna keep it going. Michigan, they can't give you nothing on offense right now. It's bad. It's Indiana.
Donnie,
y'all ever seen that Attack of the Clones meme where it's like, hey, this one thing is going on, and then the person responds like, oh yeah, in this way, right? And then it's just the staring face.
Yeah.
You ever seen that? Like, that is basically this game. Because imagine telling someone, oh, the Michigan-Indiana game is a 14-point favorite. Like, oh yeah, Michigan's favored, right? Nope, it's Indiana. That's still crazy to me. I still can't. Shout out Craig Sandetti, man. He's the runaway coach of the year, but good Lord, that's absurd. Give me Indiana to win, man. Curtis is coming back. He's looked like one of the 5, at least 6 best quarterbacks in the country this year. Like, legit, I think he could be, obviously not a first-round pick, but in the NFL, I could see him being a nice, good career, long backup, just, maybe like a Colt McCoy or something like that. So, shout out Curtis, man, because he's genuinely made himself a good amount of money. And Indiana is undefeated for the first time in my life.
Grant.
Kurt Signetti said at his press conference, I win, just Google me. And he's done it everywhere he's went. Indiana is 9-0 for the first time since 1968, or the first time in school history, excuse me. And I'm sorry, if Michigan's QB room wasn't the worst piece of garbage I've ever seen in my life, I would probably say maybe. I don't see a world where they win. They lost to Illinois away. They lost to Washington away. It's not happening. Indiana's going to win this game, and it sets them up against Ohio State for the Big Ten to see who plays Oregon. So give me Indiana.
Can I ask something real quick? I want to ask this real quick, just off topic, and then we can move on. If the Ohio State job opens up,
which it probably will.
Which it probably will if he doesn't win the Natty.
It could. How fast is Kurt Zanetti sprinting to Ohio State?
Oh, I see a world where he leaves immediately.
So this year's still on the board?
Indiana fans should not be mad because they're having the greatest season of their football history.
Yeah, this is the best Indiana football has been ever.
Thank you for making us relevant. Go enjoy Ohio State.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I'll say this real quick. Y'all want to get in the last 20 years, y'all want to know how many wins, the best win season that Indiana had before this year? You want to guess how many wins? 8.
What they
Michael Penn was it Michael Penix's Indiana team?
No. Guess how many wins?
How many?
8. That's the most they had in 2019. They've been garbage after that. So I would not be surprised if he took off.
Yeah.
That's all
right, Grant, back on you. Georgia at Ole Miss.
Oh God.
Woo.
Okay. I'm gonna try to keep this short. but I'm gonna just say a little bit. For people who don't know, and for chat who doesn't know, I'm a big Ole Miss guy. Both my parents went to Ole Miss. I've been going to Ole Miss games since I was little, and the buzz that I've been getting around this game, I haven't seen since we beat Alabama 10 years ago. And I remember where I was when it happened. I was in a gas station, and they had it on a TV. This just shows you how country where I'm from is. And we saw Sinquez Golson intercept the ball in the end zone to win the game. And it was the craziest moment in my life. Ole Miss, this is it. For Kiffin, for the team, for everybody, this is it. This is your one shot to show the world that you're there. Because right now you're 16th, and you need a big win to try to find a way to get yourself into those standings. Georgia looks weak. Carson Beck, I said we wouldn't talk about him, but I'll say it. Carson Beck is not good. He's regressed. After that Florida game, I was like, I can't do this with him. I tried to defend it. It's not good. If DJ Lagway's not hurt, they win that game. Florida wins that game, and then we're talking about 2 playoff elimination games this weekend. As for Ole Miss offensively, we put up 63 against Arkansas in a game I said we'd lose. And we completely dominated, but we lost Henry Parrish Jr. So that's a huge blow on the rushing game. Trey Harris is supposed to play. Jordan Watkins balled out. Walter Nolan's back. This team is ready. We're sold out at Oxford. And I want to be confident in this, but I think they get it done. This is the win I think they need, and I think this is they're going in with the best weapon that they can have. And I just think Georgia needs... If Georgia wants to win this game, Carson Beck cannot play like he did at Florida. If he throws 3 picks and he turns over the ball as like he did against Florida, Ole Miss's offense will tear him apart. I'm telling you now. And I think this game is going to be close. I don't think it will be a shootout like everyone thinks it is. I got Ole Miss, I'll say like 30-27, and I think it's another game of the year candidate because I just think both these teams are so good. And with the stakes, it'll be another legendary night in Oxford. So.
Donnie, who you got? Georgia or Ole Miss?
That was Carson Beck. You made me look like a fool. That's all I can say about that. Carson Beck, 2023. I saw some good stuff. This year, what happened?
It was that Cameron twin.
It's just like even the stuff he was good at last year, like the footwork, the accuracy, the poise in the pocket, the ability to escape pressure. Like most of that stuff doesn't really go away when you lose people. It's gone away from him, and I have no idea what's happening. Like it's unfortunate that he went from a potential top 20 pick to now he's probably going to go back to school if he can. So
that's that Bowers effect.
Tough for Beck, man. But I'm going to be honest, man. Ole Miss is winning this football game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel really good in saying that, and this is why. There's been a main issue with Georgia's offense, and obviously Beck hasn't been good, but there's an issue that's bigger than that. Georgia's pass protection this year has not been that good. They rank like in the mid-60s on PFF and pass blocking grade. Carson Beck's been under more pressure. Carson Beck has been under more pressure this season than any quarterback at Georgia for like over 8 years. This offensive line, and it kind of reminds me of the Alabama team a couple years ago, where it was just Bryce Young and show. And except now it's Carson Beck plus defense and show. So not great. Dude, Ole Miss, you want me to be completely honest, I think Ole Miss, you could argue, has more talent in this game. I really think so. I would take Jackson Dart over Carson Beck. I would take the passing game. Their D-line, if I'm going to be honest, I'm taking Ole Miss. Princely has been playing out of his mind. Walter Nolan's playing like a top 2 D tackle in the country. The linebacker, Chris Paul Jr., has been arguably outside of Jay Higgins, the best linebacker in the country this year. It's the secondary that's been the issue this year. Is there any pass catcher from Georgia that's really scaring you? Anybody? No? Well, Trey Harris is also going to probably be back.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys don't know, he's probably the front runner for the Blitnikoff.
Not anymore.
Well, either way.
But he's definitely still in the race, though.
He's still in the race. Either way, he's still in the race. The way I see it, I think Ole Miss has more talent. You're at home. I think this is a good opportunity to take over a Georgia team that looks vulnerable. The offense doesn't look good. I know the defense looks good, and that's the problem, is that can this O-line play, which hasn't been that good, protect you from Jalen Walker, protect you from Michael Williams? Are you going to be protected? I don't know, but I'm willing to take the chance. I'll take Ole Miss in this game. I'll say 24-21.
And real quick, granted, we said the same thing with Penn State with this home game in your shot, and they blew it. And if Ole Miss and they missed out. If Ole Miss loses this, they're out of the playoff. Kiffin's going to probably go to Florida. The team is going to be really bad because you're losing basically everybody. This is it. If you don't win this, it's the biggest waste of a season.
If you win this game, by the way, and you win out and they go 10-2, I'm sorry, you have to put them in the playoffs. Yeah. Well, I know they lost to Kentucky, but a win over Georgia, and then you had a dogfight loss against LSU. And let's not like LSU can still make the playoffs too. They're a top 15 team, at least 16 team in the country. So they're still a good team. I don't know, man. And obviously they got to beat Georgia, which I don't know if that's going to happen. But if they do, I think they still have a chance.
Keep in mind, they still got to play Florida in the swamp, and I don't care. It's still a dangerous environment. That could be your trap game if they win, and then you still got to play State in the Egg Bowl. So keep in mind, even if you win, you still got to win out, and you cannot have a slip up. But sorry, go ahead.
Durant?
Y'all said it. It's very similar to last week's Ohio State Penn State game, and I'm not going. I don't. In the back of my mind, after Penn State just burned me after I pricked them to win last week, I don't want to pick Ole Miss. This is a classic Ole Miss thing to do. Come in, it's all lined up for you to win this game. I don't know how. Maybe Beck has a resurgence game. Maybe Beck's hearing the noise. He comes to play. The defense comes to play. I'm going Georgia, man. I'm going Kirby Smart.
All right, last game before we head out. Alabama, LSU, in Death Valley. Durant, who you got?
LSU. I'm gonna go LSU. It's in Death Valley.
Nighttime.
I think Nuss has looked better than Milroy, until they both have their shaky moments. Yeah, give me LSU. I like LSU here.
Donnie?
I don't know, man. I really don't. I want to give a quick shout out real quick to Damani Jackson because he has been incredible this year. This whole season, he's only allowed 4 catches in man coverage. To put that into perspective, Travis Hunter has allowed 9. I'm not saying he's better than Travis, of course, but you get the type of season he's having. I think he could rise his stock. LT Overton, man, I mean, you want to talk about a big dude with crazy tools. Dude, it's LT Overton, 6'6", 285.
He's
dude,
nasty.
Insane first step, power, just power. Can't wait to watch him go up against Will Campbell. Hopefully not Emory Jones because he'll toss him around.
Christ.
Hopefully you can get some good tape on him versus Will Campbell. And as badly as I want to pick Alabama to win this game, you want me to be completely honest? I think I trust Nuss more than Jalen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just going to be that simple. And you're also at home. 6:30, give me LSU.
Grant?
There was one thing I forgot to mention about Ole Miss, and I'll shut up. Ole Miss 2 years ago, they had the same kind of situation, vulnerable team against Bama at home.
Yeah, I remember that. That was
get the job.
Yep.
Got his technically Jackson face mask, and they couldn't convert on 4th, and they couldn't convert on that game last drive and lost. So don't make the same mistake twice. But for this game, look, bro, LSU since 2005 has a 45-5 record at night. The last time Bama managed to beat LSU in Death Valley at night was 4 years ago, and they beat them. But no, it was 2020, and they beat them by like 50. But that LSU team was horrible.
Yeah, that shit don't even count.
Yeah, that team was all
post Burrow. Oh yeah, come on.
Yeah, that was post Burrow and Orgeron. The whole team was all over the place. But look, LSU this year, every time I feel like we've had this conversation about, LSU's not going to win. LSU's in a trap. They just find some way to do it. And they just came off of this A&M loss, and they have to find a way to get themselves back into the contention for the SEC. And I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I'm sorry. This is going to be the most Southern crap you hear from me. It's LSU at night. It's that's where dreams go to die. There's no way. And this Bama team, yeah, you beat Missouri 31-0, but they put in Drew Pine and he threw 3 picks. I saw him play at Notre Dame. He was horrible. Like, I'm sorry, and if Cook's not playing, you're not having a chance. Going back to this game, it's LSU at night. LSU's winning. Unless Bama has like a resurgence and they shock me and they go in there and like completely dominate LSU defensively and they find a way to make sure they can keep this game in their control, LSU's winning. You're not losing a bunch of thousands drunk Cajuns screaming at the top of their lungs at 7:00 at night. It's not happening. And this is going to put Kalen DeBoer in a lot of hot water. And I think a lot of Bama fans are going to go on the panic mode of, we got to fire him. Don't do that, please, because that's stupid. But LSU wins. There's no way they're losing in Death Valley at night. And I trust Nuss and Kyron Lacey. And hey, last time LSU won the national championship, Donald Trump was president. So maybe I could push an LSU hype train sooner or later. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I know I got LSU. I don't know about that. I ain't gonna say nothing about the game till the game.
No, I want you to say something.
Nah.
Come on.
I got LSU. It's that
So
simple.
you'll say something about Ole Miss, but not this?
And nah, I'm not gonna speak none in the air. So let the game rock. That's what it is. Y'all know already I got LSU winning, but yeah, it's gonna be a great game. I can't wait for that game. I can't wait. But chat is gonna do it. Appreciate everybody that came out, man. Keep liking the stream, keep following us on the road to 2K. I'll let y'all know. We still trying to figure out the time with Xavier McKinney tomorrow. So just be on the lookout. We're probably still doing the stream tomorrow, but just be on the lookout. We are doing the film on Friday. Still figure out who we're gonna watch film on. But yeah, man. Yeah, you a glazer. Keep liking the stream, keep subbing. That's what it is. It might be a Kyle Pitts versus Brock Bowers on NFL.
That'd be decent. That would be.
It might be. So look,
I mean, eventually we're gonna have to do the Cam Ward versus Shedeur one. We'll have to do that one eventually.
That could be draft season. That could be draft season. That could be draft season.
That
could be around draft time, though.
Let's wait the combine to do that one or something.
That could be some draft time.
Yeah, we're gonna wait, but yeah, we gotta do that.
Or like Senior Bowl or something. Maybe they both.
We gonna catch y'all, man. We out. Peace.